Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais, owner, founder of the Dream Vision 7 radio network. If you're tuning in for the first time, we are a full producing internet radio station. We have all the software and goodies to have you listen no matter where you are in the world. You can listen on your phones, in the car, and even ask Alexa. And check us out because we're Boston-based. We also are connected to about 55 podcast directories. So whatever you like to listen or whatever platform you would like to listen to, we are there. Well, I'm excited to have the guests that I have today. Our topic is going to be harnessing the power of intuition, how to cultivate and trust your inner voice. And we're going to be chatting about her magical book, too, The Society of Sylphs. But first of all, her name is Leah M. Hill. She is an author, intuitive medium, energy healing practitioner, sacred geometry specialist. She's a Reiki Master, Angel Healing Practitioner, and many other things as well. And she has an MBA to boot. So she is a smart and spiritual human being. So without further ado, Leah, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, Deborah. Thank you so much. I appreciate your having me on the show.
And it's my honor, really, Leah, to have you, because once I started reading about you and then the book, I just felt, oh my gosh, we need to have her book of the month. We need to do this. We need to do that. So thank you for, actually, I believe it was Wendy Fashon who connected us. And as you know, there are no coincidences. Everything is placed before us for a reason, and it's just that we need to pay attention to those messages because they're, as you well know, with the work you're doing, all these messages are weaved in every part of our day. And a lot of times we can miss them. So what I'd like to do is let's start with you sharing about your journey. Did you know that you were an intuitive medium back when you were a small child, or did it develop as you became awakened? Tell us a little bit.
Oh, so I was having experiences as a very young child, and unfortunately at the time I didn't know anybody else, or I didn't have anyone really to talk to about my experiences, and it scared me. So I was actually a very scared child. I tried to not see what I was seeing or hear what I was hearing. I tried to not feel what I was feeling. And so as I grew up, as I got older and went into my teenage years and then into my early college years, I really didn't want to have any part of it. I really was afraid of it. I didn't trust it. I didn't trust myself. And that's where the MBA that you mentioned comes in. I actually went to business school, and I got a degree in marketing, and I worked in sales for years, and so I did all of that. And then, as you know, as spirit would have it, it was like little things came into my life that were not coincidence, of course, that were beginning to wake me up. So one of the things was that book by Abraham Hicks that was called, Ask and It Shall Be Given, or Ask and It Is Given. I read that years ago, And it really just woke me up. I never thought, I was like, wow, I can really direct my life. I can actually think about something and have good things happen. Like it never occurred to me before. And so that really started the development. And from there, I went into all of the, the classes, the teachers, I had mentors just to help me open up, and certainly Reiki, going through the Reiki attunements helped open me up a lot until I was finally ready to actually do energy work, healing, readings, and mediumship for other people, which started about 15 or 18 years ago. So I've been doing it since then.
And now, did you do a slow process in blending your day job with the readings and such at the beginning?
Yes, absolutely. I was working full-time. I started doing readings just, part-time or weekends, or I would do live events. And actually, a lot of my clients that I have a number of clients around the United States, is because I used to do radio shows years ago. I used to be a guest on radio shows with live callers, and people would call in and ask questions or intuitive questions. And that's how I actually built a lot of my business that I have today.
Amazing. Back when, they still have talk radio with terrestrial, which usually comes with a tower in a building, and there's a place for everything. And so that's where you got your feet wet and started your community, it sounds like. Yes,
very much. So I basically just work on, referrals. I do some events like this whenever I can, to get the word out, or I do some live events here and there. But basically it's a lot of just word of mouth and referrals that keep my business going.
Now, does one feed the other, with all the different modalities? Are people calling specifically for angel work or the Vortex healing? What are they calling for, and is it still, are you finding people still want to know, are they going to get the job, or are they going to meet the right person, right. Or is it more in-depth these days?
So these days what I find is that it's more, it is more about what's going on in the person's life. And what I do when I work with the person over the phone is I just bring all of that. Everything, it's basically like having the toolbox with me, like a plumber that would have all the different tools that are with them when they come to the job. That's what I do, is I just put all of my focus, my heart focus, once I've already opened up to divine light energy to make sure it's only divine light energy that comes through me. And then from there, I'm guided by the angels or ascended masters or that person's highest self. What does this person need today? So they might be asking a question about what's going on with their career, but what we end up working on is something that might have happened 30 years ago that's now affecting that person's career now and their relationships at work now. And so that's where a lot of people come with, like, what's the immediate thing, but then there's so many different layers to it that usually have to get unpacked along the way, and then we can get back to the practical, the questions of what the person has.
Sure. I think the main thing with anyone listening or anyone that receives readings and wants to do them often, and some use mediums like yourself to guide them through their whole life. But I think the main thing is to stay open, because, and truly you show that through your book, is that it all depends on what the message is and the timing. And if you're so intent on getting an answer for the career, you're missing something, a nugget of something that can make a huge difference in your life if you allow it to come through. Do you find that more people are open to receiving whatever it may be that you're channeling through?
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot, as we know, shifted since COVID, since the pandemic started. It's an overwhelming difference of not just the number of people, but like you mentioned, like the amount or the level of openness that people have. You know, years ago I was on a radio show and I was talking to someone about doing Reiki distance, you know, over the phone. And this man was like, you know, I believe in Reiki 100%. I had it. I received it. It helped me a lot, but I don't believe it can be distance. You know, I just don't understand it. I don't think it could happen. And so that was more like before, but now people, it's just totally different. People are like, oh yeah, absolutely. Distance healing, Reiki, things over Zoom or over the phone or whatever. It just seems much more accepted nowadays than ever before, in my experience.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that's one of the positives that came out of the pandemic. People spent so much time by themselves, they started feeling who they really were, or maybe not feeling totally, maybe they weren't even awakened, but they felt something, some little piece of something, and that, you know, and then that developed into a way of them wanting to know more, and so I think it's helping people to wake up, and can you say that that's not good? It's good for people to open up, because that's why we're here to learn more about the truth of who we are, which is all about the show and such. But so let's get into the power of intuition. We all have intuitive skills, our intuitive abilities built right in. And how would you say, what can we do to cultivate and trust that inner voice? Because some people will hear the voice and openly decide that they're not going to listen to it.
Right, and that's what I did for many years. That's what I did, absolutely.
We all have.
Right, exactly. So I agree 100%. I think we all have abilities. I think the first place I would start is to just ask yourself, why? Why do I want to develop my intuitive abilities? How would this benefit me in my life? And there are many, many reasons why, but a lot of times people just feel like they're going to make better decisions for themselves if they're trusting their own intuition and they've cultivated it. Better self-confidence. They might feel better in their health and their healthy choices in their life. And certainly, I don't know about you, but my creative inspiration went way up when I started really developing my intuition. It was just my creativity kind of exploded, which had never really happened before. So the first thing I say is, you know, ask yourself, why do I want this? It's sort of setting that intention of saying, oh, okay, I want to feel better about myself. Or like you just said, I want to be empowered. I don't want to feel like life is just throwing things at me and I have to respond to it. I want to direct my own life. I want to know why I'm here and who I am. So that's the first step. And then acknowledgement, just acknowledging that you have the abilities. It doesn't mean that you have to be, you know, like the famous psychic or the famous medium and you have to, you know, have those same abilities. There are people that I know who are great at animal communication. They connect with animals really well. And it doesn't mean that I can't. It just means it's just not something that I do all the time. It's not something I practice. You know, other people are very tuned into medical intuition, you know, and medical things. They can just see a person's body and see what's going on. And again, it's not that I can't do it. It's just something that I don't really practice that much. So that's one thing. It's just acknowledging that you're intuitive and that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do it all at once. And then from there, to cultivate it, then you start the practice, right? So you've set your intention, you've acknowledged that you can do this, and basically it always starts with meditation. You know, I know you hear that a lot, but that's the best way to really start developing and cultivating your intuition, is just to be aware of your own thoughts. Aware of your own thoughts. It's even outside of that 15 minutes that you might be meditating, it's throughout the day. And a lot of people do that through, they also get support, you know, through journaling. That's definitely helpful, or sometimes divination tools like angel cards or tarot cards or pendulums and different tools that they explore. So what I say is, once you get all of that trying different things. That's one thing I recommend, is try different things. And then once you've tried a few things, pick one thing that you feel most comfortable with. So if it's, an angel oracle card deck that you feel the most comfortable with and drawn to, just focus on that and start with that, and start simple. Start small with yes, no questions, building up trust as you go along, so that you don't feel like, you're not asking, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You're just asking, what's my priority for today? Should it be this, yes or no, or should it be that, yes or no? And that's how I recommend people get started.
Yeah, that's good. And then as they develop more, that's when I think, as we evolve, as we go along, that's when we notice and listen and hear different messages, or like a lot of people do, if they have certain numbers, those will come up a lot. And if they tune into that, something can develop. There are books that have been developed. There are businesses that have come to be. All these types of things can come. And as you've said, the creativity, that's part of the key piece of living from your spiritual self instead of the human. And that's where we find our joy. And there's so much to work on in this world to have better systems, a better way of receiving light or putting gas in the car, all the different things. There's so much that we can do to improve. So we don't have to be locked into a certain category. It can just go anywhere.
Right. And I think it's helpful, I think, when I was learning too and developing, is to realize that there are, the 4 basic ways that you get intuition, because so many, my experience as a child is I was mostly seeing things, and I didn't like what I was seeing, or I would hear things. But I didn't realize until I was later developing it that I also get, the clear knowing of just knowing things. And I also I learned to listen to my body and notice when I get those tingly feeling, the tingles on the back of my neck. So it wasn't just all seeing or one way. It was, I realized that what I was using is a combination of all of those abilities that we all have. And then, from there, again, if there's one that feels more comfortable for you, you can develop that more. And so with that definitely helped, was for me to realize, there are lots of different ways that intuition comes to me. And then the fun way that Spirit gets us messages sometimes is that it's either one or 2 ways in my experience. It's either, if there's a message coming through, it's repetitive. It's like you mentioned, seeing the numbers over and over again, over and over. Or it's the opposite. It's like you're just doing the dishes, or you're gardening, or you're out doing something else, and all of a sudden this spontaneous, flash comes into your mind, or you hear someone's name of your friend, and so you reach out to call them. So it sounds like opposite things. There's repetitive, and then there's also spontaneous, but there are different ways, like you said, that Spirit is communicating with us all the time.
Right.
So,
have you had some profound experiences yourself? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Can you think of one right now that you'd like to share?
Oh, gosh. Well, so one thing is in the future, I'll be developing a spiritual retreat center, a day retreat center called Apollo Sunrise Center. And so Apollo, that we know is we're mostly familiar with the god Apollo, the Greek god, or sometimes even the moon landing, the Apollo moon landing. So what happened was, years ago, I started on this weird journey, I guess it was, of developing what is to become Apollo Sunrise Center. But it first came to me when I was doing some intuitive thing. It was like a little game, and they said, wherever you're sitting right now, just pull the closest book to you, open up to this page, read this line. And what I had next to me was a dictionary, and I opened it up, and it was the word Apollo, with all of the meanings for it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then the next day I went out to a museum, and there was this big painting of the god Apollo. And then I would watch TV, and the moment that I look up on the TV, it says, talking about the Apollo moon landing, and it was just repetitive. It was like unbelievable. It was so I started writing it down because I just couldn't imagine or I'd open the newspaper. I didn't even read the newspaper. I was just in a coffee shop. I opened the newspaper and there's the word Apollo, and I'm like, all right, I get it.
Right,
I get the message. So it was like, Spirit was just not letting go. It was just like that. And it's funny because I was recently at a meeting, and this woman came up to me and she said, "Oh, Leah, I wanted to talk to you because I had these things that reminded me of my father who passed away. I met someone who had his name, and I saw his birth date on the paperwork, and I saw a license plate or whatever." And she listed like 6 different things, and then she said, "So what do you think? Do you think it's a message?" And I'm like, yes. yes. But I was like, yes, that's a message, because that's how Spirit works. If you don't get it the first time, it's okay, because Spirit will keep, giving you the message. And that's what it was for me, is I was just like in denial at first with the Apollo thing. And then finally I said, okay, I get it.
Right. So you're taking steps to move forward in that direction.
Yes, very much. Yes.
So do you have are you doing retreats or anything of that sort as of yet?
Not at the center. The things that I'm doing are at different locations, but I'm currently looking for a property in the North Shore, northeastern Massachusetts area to be able to have retreats. So it would be like a place for community, for connection, for communion, for different instructors to come together, retreat leaders, things to like weekend workshops, things like that, to have a whole variety of things happening at the same time. And so it's coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's coming soon, definitely.
Good. Well, you're taking the steps. So if you're doing that, you're telling the universe that's you're following through, and things will drop into place as long as you hold that energy and visualize. As you know, when you visualize and put all the senses to it, feel it, taste it, smell it, all those different pieces, and see yourself in the Apollo Center, then it will be. It's just a matter of when, but it will be. So we need to take our first break. This is a live show for those that are listening. Bob is in the house, and he'll put you right through. Our number here is 833-220-1200, 833-220-1200. So feel free to call in and talk with Leah or myself. If you have a question, we welcome your call. We'll be back in a moment.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first-grade teacher Caitlin Roy DeVellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowd-funded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back. And again, our number here, if you'd like to call in and ask Leah a question, feel free. It's 833-220-1200. Bob is in the house and we'll put you through directly. And if you want to get in touch with, or I should mention, for those that might be just tuning in, we are with Leah M. Hill. She is an author, intuitive medium, and energy healing practitioner. She has an MBA, which I think is phenomenal. She has a number of energy healing modalities that she does, and as well as group presentations and educational workshops. And on top of all of this, some years ago, and I had the honor to read it, she has a book called The Society of Sylphs. And she's going to explain what a sylph is, but it's how an autistic boy and a mystical being find their voices through human tragedy. And it's a beautiful book. I so enjoyed it. You end up reading through it quite quickly because it's thrilling and it's mysterious, and yet it is touching on the human experience and how we do here on Earth. It has all these pieces, and it helps you understand what happens with an autistic child from the inside out. We can still talk about the intuition, but you know, I loved the book. It was rich with information, and I have to ask you, what came about that you had the desire to write this kind of book?
Oh gosh, well, that was another one of the spirit things, the messages that repeated. I was actually told by an intuitive woman years ago. She said, "You're going to write a book," and I went, "What?" I was like, no way. And I always wanted to write. I liked writing. I kept journals all my life and notebooks and everything, but I never really developed it because I always thought I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't as good as this person, or I wasn't, whatever, creative enough, all the reasons I didn't. And then, through my own healing work, my own intuitive healing work, I came to, it was really about self-acceptance, and it was really about me saying, okay, I have no idea what I'm going to write about, but I'm willing to do it. And then it was like the floodgates opened. It was like all of a sudden, wow. I remember where I was in the moment. I was in Salem, Massachusetts, which is a very spiritual place anyway, but I was there just visiting for the day. And big storm was coming in over the water, over the ocean.
Leah, hold that thought with the storm coming in, because we have a caller from New York. Okay. And I'd like to have her come through, or she or he. So come through if you're from Brooklyn, New York. Come right into the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
And what is your name?
It's Carmen.
Hi, Carmen. Thank you for calling in. Do you have a question for Leah?
Yes. I mean, does Leah want to take questions, or what kind of questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, Carmen. Go ahead.
Question. No, I think it would be best to have a general message or something related to, I don't know. Whatever, maybe an angel's guidance card or something. I don't know what else would be appropriate today.
Oh, okay. Well, I could do a real quick thing just because we're on the air and we have a time constraint. One thing that would help first is if you put out one or both of your hands with your palms facing up right now.
Okay.
And I'm just going to connect with your energy because I can feel your anxiety, so your energy is kind of bouncing around all over the place. So I just want to ask first, are you feeling any energy in your hand or both hands right now?
Just normal, I would say.
Normal? Okay. I just wanted to see if I can connect with your energy because I'm feeling your anxiety. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure if I have anxiety, but I'm feeling some tingling in my fingers.
Okay. All right. Great. So I'll just give you a quick message because you called in. The angels are saying that you are at the choice point of choosing two different paths, and you're not sure which one to take or where to go, which way to go. And one thing that would help you is what we were talking about a few minutes ago as far as journaling and asking the questions, asking the questions of what do I want right now? What do I feel like I am being drawn to right now? What do I see myself doing in the next few months or 6 months? And that will help you get some direction.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your radio show very much. It's super inspiring. Ernie Siegel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, thank you for the reading and the time also. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sure. You're welcome.
That's so nice.
So if anyone else would like to call in, it's 833-220-1200. And I wanted to give out the information. If you would like to have a private reading, if you're thinking of having someone come into your space for a presentation or workshops that Leah does, you can go on her site. It's Leah, Leah, M as in mother, and Hill, Hill, LeahMHill.com. So check that out. And before the caller, we were talking about the book that I love so much. It's just a magical book. And you were saying that you were guided, and you were in Salem, and there was a storm coming. So go, please share more.
Well, I'm summarizing in the interest of time, but when I was out there by the ocean in Salem, it was a beautiful day, and then all of a sudden this big storm just rolled right in, and everybody was like packing up and leaving, and the rain was starting, and I just looked up in that moment. I looked up in the clouds, and I saw in my intuitive sight, in my mind's eye, I saw sylphs. Now, sylphs, S-Y-L-P-H, for those who aren't familiar, are elemental beings of the air. So we tend to think of like gnomes, or if we're familiar with gnomes,
fairies,
or, beings of the fairies, beings of the earth, or sometimes some people do call sylphs fairies of the air. But I saw these sylphs like flying around, and all of a sudden I said, I'm going to write a book about a sylph. And that's where it started.
So do you feel, are you in tune now that you've connected that, because ordinarily we're receiving messages. We have our own guides and angels and fairies, and yet there's so many beings, and now these sylphs that you have spoken about another whole. I was not aware that they were. You know, I'm more in tune with the fairies, but they're in the they're in the air, the elemental air. So so was that an education for you, or you were already feeling them?
I knew I was feeling something. I didn't know what they were at the time. But I was, because I had been familiar with angels, and I was like, are these angels? No, not angels, but they're like different. They felt different energy. And really after that, the Spirit was giving me scenes for the book. It was like in my mind's eye, I would see a scene, and then I'd have to write it. So I wrote it very like in different pieces, and then I had to spend a lot of time kind of weaving it together into the story. But it started with just little scenes. I just had this vision of a young sylph who her job is to deliver messages. Okay, so she delivers messages to humans and other beings, but she had never seen humans before. And then all of a sudden she sees humans, and she's like, what is this? Wow, who are these? You know, who are these beings? And why can't they hear me? Why can't they see me like the other beings, you know, the animals and the fairies and everyone else? So that's really where it started. And then for the human side, the boy, I needed a reason why he could see and hear this particular sylph, and none of the other humans could. So what the sylph has to do to deliver her messages to humans is she has to get creative. She has to think about different ways to get the message. Maybe it's, you know, moving a piece of fabric, or a bell ringing in the background, or chimes, or something. You know, it could be all different ways. And at the time, I had known a number of friends who had kids or young adults who were on the autism spectrum, and then it just came to me, oh, he has autism. And he's also nonverbal. So even though he has trouble communicating in his own family and his own and struggles with his own communication, he can communicate with this sylph very clearly. So that's how they become friends and connect.
Yes, and there's a whole mystery along the way as well. But I love the way you can feel you in the book. At least I can. Your journey, your wisdom is weaved into the story, so it's you can pick it up. Even to I have to say, even to when he was sick, he would get sick. Crackers, but he was not able to verbalize, the little boy. Right. And they were giving him crackers because to settle him down. And then I thought, well, maybe you know someone that has celiac, you know, and needs to have gluten-free crackers, or maybe he's allergic to milk, and there's milk in the crackers. So all these little details and nuances of information, if you read it and take it all in, there's so much wisdom and information that you're sharing. I just loved it. I just loved it. And it's whimsical as well. It's light, it's heavy, it's everything.
Well, you were right in your intuition, because they do say that everyone's first book is really an autobiography, and I am both of those characters. I am Lorana, the sylph, who delivers messages, right, and has to find out ways to communicate with people. And then even though I'm not on the autism spectrum, as a child, I was so, you know, withdrawn with what was going on. I had all these feelings, and that's how I was able to write the character of Eddie, because I know what it's like to feel all the feelings and not be able to express it and not be able to get it out. And and that's his way that he has to learn, you know, how to do that, how to communicate. And then she, Lorana, also has to learn how to, you know, be a sylph and connect with her own society and her own culture. So, and really in a lot of ways, it's about, you know, all of us that we struggle with that balance between how can you be an independent individual and still be a part of your society, your culture? How can you do both? And that's
exactly
that we're on.
Right, and a lot of people can't wrap their minds around that. Well, I'm a separate person. How can I be connected or interconnected? How can I have, how could I have hate within me? I don't have that. All those things, it's hard for people to really absorb and see, but once you are aware, it's really from a higher perspective that you can see and feel things. And I want to ask you if you had troubles in expressing or getting it out. Do you think a lot has to do with not feeling safe?
Yes, absolutely. Things have changed a lot and the world has opened up a lot, but I'm in my early 50s, and when I was young, like I said, people around me and in my world were not talking about it. And I did find out later, which was interesting, that later in because they do say the intuitive ability, like the strength of it tends to get passed down, that I did have a relative that would do readings for people and was actually very good at it. She read tea leaves and she read palms. And, back then the family had said to her, this was before I was even born, but the family had said to her, oh, no, you can't do that. You got to shut it down. Don't tell people. Keep it quiet. So then me, with my experiences, I just didn't know what to do. I did have my journaling, which helped a lot. And like I said, I tried to shut it down as much as I could. But I recently connected with a woman that I went to high school with, and she was like, Leah, if I'd only known what you were going through, I would have loved to talk to you about it. It was like we were both going through this, this questioning, this challenging time, what was happening, and we didn't know to connect or even to come out of our shells to ask for help.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens with a lot of young people. And and they may be loved and cared for and all that, but for some reason they feel as though they don't fit in, and then they back into a shell, and then it goes from there. But on the other side of the coin, look how you have blossomed, and had you been very social back in that time and talkative, you wouldn't be who you are today.
That's right. Absolutely right. and that's what I tell people when I'm working with other people or clients that want to develop their own intuition. I say, you know what? When you're learning, just validate it to yourself first. Don't worry about getting validation from everybody, your friends or people, or about your intuition and what's right and what's wrong. Just validate it to yourself. Keep that journal. Write down your hunches, your little gut instincts, or the things you feel even when you first meet someone, and then go back and say, oh, yeah, that was it. Because that's exactly what would happen, is what you're talking about, is people would say, oh, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, oh, it's not true, it can't be true, whatever, all the things that people would project onto you that you start to believe, and especially when you were young, and you're still developing your own sense of self.
Yeah, it's when you're young and you don't have a full understanding of yourself, really, and what your purpose or why you're here. But we need to take our last break, Leah, so don't go anywhere. And listen and stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be loved. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times best-selling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back, and there's still time to call in, although you'd have to hurry up. It's 833-220-1200. We are with Leah M. Hill, and you can go on her site, which is exactly that. Leah is Leah, M as in mother, and Hill, HILL.com. And we've been talking about a number of things, and I just want to put the name of the book out again because it's really, it's a novel, and it's about family, love, mystery, autism. It's everything you would want it to be, and it tugs at your heart, and you just want to keep reading and solve a crime and all the different pieces. And it's a beautiful book, and as the listeners know, I love reading. I'm an avid reader, and I think what is better than giving a gift of a book? So order it up. It's called The Society of Sylphs, and Sylphs is SYLPHS, and it's how an autistic boy and a mystical being find their voices through human tragedy. It's on Amazon or wherever you want to purchase books, and it's going to be coming up as Book of the Month on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. So I wanted to ask, maybe it's a strange question, but with your ability, and you're tuned in to all earth beings, all life, do you connect with the sylphs yourself, and how about, the underground population? If you really read things about, life on Earth, there's so many communities of life that we don't even realize are living. They could be under, right under the earth. It could be anywhere. But share what your thoughts are around that.
Oh, yes. I mean, if I kept the channels open all the time, I probably would just have these endless conversations with all of the beings because yes, I can feel them, hear them, see them. And then what I do, though, is I have to use some filters just so that I'm not, distracted all the time. But when I go to sacred places or making special trips, a lot of people go to Sedona to connect with the energies in Sedona, Arizona. I have been to, I've been there, and also like Glastonbury, England, which is old, wonderful energy from the King Arthur times, and Mary Magdalene energy, and all kinds of energy. So then when I'm in that place, I connect with those energies. But probably the clearest and what you've also read in the book, The Society of Sylph, is that when I had made a couple of trips to Iceland years ago, before that was popular. I think going to Iceland now has become very popular, but before, when it wasn't real, it was this unheard of place. It is really a magical place, and the adults there generally believe, most of the population believe in what they call the elves, or the population of elves that are unseen or hidden beings called Huldufolk that live on the island in the country of Iceland. And so when I went there, I had the ability to connect with them as well and learn from them and have conversations with them. So for me, it's kind of, it could be everywhere at once, but it's mostly I try to direct it so it doesn't get too overwhelming.
Right. And filters sounds like it comes with the territory, because there's so many different things that can come through and clog up or even confuse the person.
Yes.
But it's so neat to hear about that. And we just don't, I find that also fascinating, and love to have conversations around those kinds of things without people, looking at you that you have 3 heads or something to that effect. Because the mystical part of it just tunes into your heart and makes you feel light, makes you feel the light, makes you realize you are the light. It's just fun.
Yeah. And I often use or recite quotes from Albert Einstein, because, we know he was this amazing mathematician, physicist, but he very much relied on his own intuition. He had the ability to, mathematically, think through the formulas and the answers, but there are many times he wrote about and spoke about where he said he didn't have the answer, and so he would go into his intuition, his meditative state, or do something mindless until he got that flash of intuition. So he was a perfect example of someone who used both the rational mind and the intuition at different times based on what he was doing in the moment.
Yes, which is phenomenal, of what he has brought to the world. So shifting gears, I love to ask this question. And for you, how do you see the world today, Leah?
Well, I'm an optimistic person. I see the world as undergoing now a dramatic change, but it's actually a heart-centered global transition of the entire earth, and actually humanity as well. So what I mean by that is we have, as some people might have studied or learned about, been through these dark ages from eons ago, and we have been working our way slowly towards the path of ascension. What we call ascension is just sort of everyone going to the light, everyone living in the light, living those golden ages that we talked about or used to read about. And so we're getting there. We're getting there at different rates, right? Some people might be taking longer than others, but we're all getting there. So it doesn't matter how long it takes or if someone's awakened or not awakened. We're all on that path, I believe, to become that next golden age, the communion, the community, the living, maybe the time when we're all just telepathic and there are no more secrets, there are no more hidden things. You just are telepathic with everyone around you. And I believe that that's what it's like in spirit right now. And it's just not on that way it is here right now, but we are getting there.
Yes, I like the way you explain that nothing is hidden, which I think is beautiful. And then at the same time, because of that, people live from their truth. Every minute, every day, every hour. And I agree with you. That's what I see, too. And I hope that I see more of it while I'm still on Earth. I'd love to see more of it. So we have...
I think you will.
Go ahead, please. You think?
Oh, I was going to say, I think you will, and you'll see it in the children over the next 5 to 10 years. You'll see it in the children, the change. Yeah.
Yes, you can see it now. And, Well, we only have a couple minutes remaining, and I want to ask you, what would you like to leave the listeners with? You can share more wisdom, anything that you've got coming up. What would you like to leave them with?
Oh, well, I would like to leave the listeners with the encouragement to try that, to develop your own intuition. I called the topic of the show about harnessing the power of intuition, and this is about your own power. It's not about power over someone else or power that of other people. It's your own power to actually direct your life and live the life that you want to live and develop it. And that's why it has to be cultivated, so that as you trust your inner voice and guidance along the way, it will happen. You can't get it wrong, and that's what I want to tell people. You can't get it wrong. Just try it, and it will work. You will develop. You will find that you're living the life that you always dreamed of.
Perfect. That's beautiful. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. You've been a delight. Everyone get the book, The Society of Sylphs, and her website is Leah M. Hill. Just as it sounds, Leah, Leah, as in mother, hill.com. And do you have another book developing or bubbling up?
Yes, it's developing. It's coming along slowly, but it will be a sequel, actually, to the first book, to the Society of Sylphs. So it'll be What Happens Next. So it'll still be
love that.
Mystical. It'll still be a thriller, and there'll still be Lorana and Eddie in different adventures. But Deborah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show today, and I'm so grateful for you and what you do with this show and Dream Vision 7 Radio. I mean, just spreading the light, encouraging people, and shining your light is so important. And thank you so much for what you do.
Oh, thank you. You're giving me goosebumps. So thank you so much for your kind words. And that is really how, we're doing our thing to feed that collective consciousness with love and empowerment and all the good things that we all need and we all deserve and we all are thirsty for. And thank you for that, and back to you. Thank you for all your work, and we'll just stay in touch and see how it all unfolds and develops.
Sounds good. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for everyone listening, share the show, listen to it again. You can always pick up something new by listening, and do what Leah has suggested. Tune into your intuition and trust it, and you can't go wrong. I love that. You can't go wrong. And until we meet again, au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.